Well, I'm joined by Clare a psychologist and campaigner for Generation Focus. She wants schools free from smartphones. Thanks very much for being with us. What do you think of today's new guidance?
I think, well, it's great that the Secretary of State wants to make things stronger and clearer. There's a real problem with the fact that this is still guidance. We know that head teachers across the country are desperate for a statutory ban and the proper clarity that that would bring. At the end of the day, we are facing an epidemic of smartphone addiction in young people. We all know that. We can see that. And it's not fair to leave it up to head teachers to fix it. They need the full force of the law. They need proper legislation. If they felt that they could ban phones with just guidance, most of them would have. And we know that actually most of them haven't gone to do full bans. So head teachers need proper government support, and that means a statutory ban so that they can get on with their jobs, which is running their schools.
And do you think children should be allowed to have brick phones, i.e. phones that don't have the internet?
Absolutely. So at Generation Focus, that's what we are campaigning for. There is no problem with a brick phone. When everyone just had Nokias, we did not see the mental health crisis that we are now seeing. Smartphones are the problem. They are the gateway to social media, and they lead to a whole host of problems. The camera is also a real issue on smartphones, with children being filmed without their consent. So if children just bring a brick phone to school and they aren't allowed to bring a smartphone, we know that has a huge impact. There are many schools that are now doing that. It's very simple, it's free to implement, and it's the only policy that really changes the cultural norm around smartphones, and it supports parents to delay giving a smartphone, which is the ultimate goal. But the problem is with the guidance is that it doesn't differentiate between brick phones and smartphones. So at the moment, the way that stands is that all phones have to be locked away, and schools don't have the capability always to do that. We think it'd be much better if children had brick phones, which they were allowed to keep in their bags, switched off, and then that protects them from all the risks and impacts that we know that smartphones are having on them at school.
What about the ability to track the children, which you can't do, I guess, with a brick phone? Because for kids who are perhaps doing long journeys and still quite young, that is one advantage, isn't it, of the smartphone?
So I think we need to bust the myth that tracking makes our children safer. This is another growing norm that we are sleepwalking into, that again, we're not questioning, just like what happened with social media. There is no evidence that tracking makes our children safer. It's usually just our own parental anxiety, which is very normal, that we're looking to mitigate for. So I think we need to bust that myth that actually that's what we need. But that said, if parents do want to track, there are GPS trackers that can be put in bags, and then you can have that, you can have a brick phone, and that's all you need. We need to remember that brick phones are still communication devices. You can still call and text on the way to school, and it keeps you safe. The problem is when we open that gateway to social media, we know that many children get round parental controls on smartphones.
Okay.
So a brick phone is really all you need.
Clare, sorry we're out of time. It's a really important and fascinating discussion. Very grateful to you for your time.